Let's try to get this working here. Your home is on fire, but you don't really want to know. As your drowsy eyes flicker on the edge of the sleep, a faint scent of smoke hovers somewhere in the distance. Smugly comfortable in your favorite easy chair, the one you've worked for all your life. You simply don't want to be disturbed. It's not worth worrying about, you tell yourself. Unless you're in one of those unless you're one of those devoted spiritualists only concerned about the kingdom of heaven, the news that your home is on fire should worry you, even though that bubbling methane that prepares to explode out of the ice-free Arctic Ocean is an abstraction you cannot comprehend. The early ignition of mammoth wildfires in the Coup region of Siberia this month promises a record burn that will only get worse with each passing year. The key fact you continue to ignore is that this fire can no longer be put out, nor can the devastating effects on the planet it will bring be reversed. We got a link to that too. Might have to take a look at that. Kaminsky says, I spoke to a childhood friend recently. First time in 50 years. He said he'd be glad to talk about our own ancient history anytime, but after seeing a selection of my latest stories, he didn't want to talk to me about those. So we on the internet confront the rest of the world. That part that has been taught not to listen, that part that has believed what they've been told and now today knows practically nothing about what is happening to them, to us, to everyone. Which one is the dream? You ask. The nightmare stories that shrink out of the World Wide Web, or the happy, obvious, oblivious vista that exists inside your own home? The Why would you succumb to all this internet paranoia when your house is warm, your bills are paid, your family's safe, and your alarm system works? Your life has been an unmitigated success. How could it all be ruined by things you never paid attention to? If it was that important, somebody on TV would have told you, right? The fact is, tomorrow has been stolen, and you can never get it back. Folks, that is exactly what happened to me. I go back, I read some of the articles, I read some of the stories that I did, I read some of the novels that I wrote over 10 years ago, and I almost don't recognize the person that wrote them. But Kaminsky said, my future has been stolen. I now ask for donations. I publish a magazine. At one time, 20,000 people read everything I wrote for 10 years. Today, because I'm blocked in libraries, because I'm blocked on Intel and Intuit, if you work for General Dynamics, if you work at a public library, you can't hear my shows, you can't read my books. And when people like Colonel Harry Riley, who you're looking to be your savior, warns everybody to stay away from my show, to be off of my show, the same people that I've been supporting for this whole month, Operation American Spring, I've been supporting them this whole month. I've been telling you to go there. I've been telling you, yes, I know Michael Connolly. Yes, Michael Connolly's been on my show. Yes, he's writing the articles of impeachment. And I hope they're honest. But then when Harry Riley tries to turn everybody against me personally because he thinks I hate Jews, even though two of the guests I had on were Jews, one of them became a Christian, the other had some complaints, but I put everything that he said up. And I changed, by the way, that one column on the left-hand side of my page. I change that every day. Every day I put up whatever my guest of the day is going to say. Whatever he believes. If he believes Jews are a threat, I'll put that up there. You need to know how J.B. Campbell thinks, how John Kaminsky thinks, and I'm reading his article right there. I'm sharing that with you. And the reason Harry Riley's come after me because he does not want me talking about Israel. He believes Israel, and all of his words I put up on my website. Obama, the reason he's mad at Obama is that Obama's supporting the Palestinians. Well, I support the Palestinians. Israel does not have the right to take over the world. They do not have the right to run this country, and yet the neocons, the dual citizens, Project for a New American Century, is trying to make America into a replica of the British Empire, which the Rothschilds owned and controlled. I am not pointing the finger at individuals. I don't care who your grandmother slept with. I am trying to tell you about political movements. Some of them might be Republicans, some of them might be Democrats. They infiltrate all organizations, and that's the one threat of the free American to them. I'm an individual. I'm an American. I love America. I love Texas. We never should have given up those Rocky Mountains when we accepted statehood. They redrew the lines. They're trying to redraw the lines between Oklahoma and Texas right now, and that'll be in the news later. 160 acres that they're trying to take away from Texas farmers, ranchers that have been there forever. This is Common Core, this is Agenda 21. They label it under all different kinds of things, but it's really the banksters using the agencies of our government that they control. And if you pointed the finger at the bankers behind all this, then they want to call you anti-Semitic. An endless array of real emergency now dominates our consciousness. What looks like a real American revolution is unfolding on the scrubby plains of Nevada as we speak, with police state goons ready to tase the last farmer in the county because he has a piece of land some corrupt politician wants to sell to the Chinese. So far, the militias from all over the country have won the first skirmish, but the battle has only begun, and the cunning feds promise more terror. The liars in Washington, who are running the USA, are now telling the Russians to accept the Jewish hijacking of the Ukraine, but that caper is coming apart on its own accord, because like the terrorists in Washington, the terrorists in Kyiv don't know what they're doing except stealing and don't have the support of their own people. The Jewish thieves on Wall Street have already plundered the U.S. Treasury and set the stage for a massive starvation of the masses. Now they are gearing up for the next great boondoggle, a currency reset and a one-world coinage destined to impoverish virtually everybody who survives Obamacare, Common Core, Homeland Security, and the next fake election. Are you ready for noxious and irrelevant rhetoric of Jeb versus Hillary? Plus the Great Wall of Silence about Fukushima, weather control, food sabotage, toxic drugs, police violence, and every other issue of importance to the American people oozes forth from a government that regards all ordinary people as potential terrorists rather than the honest citizens we try so hard to be. All of these profound issues deserve our concerned scrutiny, but they are no longer the main event. Too many experts are saying that the human race no longer has a way out of its narcissistic lunacy. Some say that point of no return was passed back in the 70s, and now there's no way to stop what will eventually become a disturbingly silent future. Long ago, I fancied myself, says John Kaminsky, these are his words, I fancied myself a time traveler, at least in my imagination, for purposes of fantasy fiction. When once upon a time I had a dream which I could not see the future past a certain point, late in the second decade of the 21st century, there was no imagining what might come to be. There was only blackness, nothingness. Now we see a growing cohort of environmentalists predicting exactly the same thing and displaying the temperature projections to back up the most dire forecast. In fact, NTE has become the new buzz acronym. It stands for Near Term Extinction. Near Term Extinction. The consensus is that it is totally unavoidable, a done deal. 4 degrees centigrade rise by 2030, 10 degrees centigrade by 2040, too hot for all vegetation, it will all wither and die. With no vegetation, there's no animal life. We are animals, remember. Self-reinforcing feedback loops. The phrase by itself means nothing, but what the phrase means is that everything in our future, with every new climatological fact that comes to light, the future gets darker, the darkness cannot be ameliorated. Where there is no life, there is no light. The more methane that gets released from the melting polar caps, the warmer it gets. The warmer it gets, the more methane gets released, a self-restoring feedback loop. Environmental scientist Doug McPherson has become the Dr. Doom of our present beleaguered day. He has coined the ultimate epitaph for our pathetic generation. The only thing that can save the human race from near extinction is the utter collapse of industrial society, and that might not even work. He says only complete economic collapse prevents runaway greenhouse and the end of the human race. And it could happen very quickly, however, McPherson adds. Collapse triggers the meltdown of 400 plus nuclear power plants, which is severe to problematic. The situation is truly desperate. McPherson calls what's happening the sixth great extinction, and terms it worse and happening faster. That was not than what is known as the Permian extinction of 250 million years ago, which killed off 90% of the Earth's animal species and left the planet desolate for 10 million years. The world is heating up so fast the plants and plankton can't respond, McPherson says. The vanishing point draws nearer every day. There's a 40-year lag between emissions and effect, so that the actions of the 70s have produced the disaster that is unfolding today. So think about all the pollution that has taken place since then and calculate its unfolding impact on the next 5 decades. The 6th great extinction will be the most rapid of all. We could lose 90% of all species, and there's nothing I know of to turn the ship around. Now, writer Carolyn Baker says the current human predicament, a hospice situation. If you don't know what that means, you better ask somebody. On his blog, Nature Bats Last, McPherson has written, if you're too busy to read the evidence below, here's the bottom line. On a planet that's 4 degrees centigrade hotter than baseline, all we can prepare for is human extinction. According to World Bank's 2012 report, Turn Down the Heat, why a 4 degrees centigrade warmer world must be avoided. An uninformed assessment of the BP Energy Outlook 2030 put together by Barry Sacrifice for the Vancouver Observer, our path leads directly to the 4 centigrade mark. The 19th Conference on the Parties of the UN Framework Convention for Climate Change, held in November 2013 in Warsaw, Poland, was warned by Professor of Climatology Mark Maslam. We are already planning for a 4 degrees centigrade world because that's where we're headed. I do not know of any scientists who do not believe that. Adding to the planetary misery is a paper in the 16th December 2013 issue of the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science, concluding that 4 degrees centigrade terminates the ability of Earth's vegetation to sequester atmospheric carbon dioxide. All of the above information fails to include the excellent work by Tom Garrett, which points out that only the complete collapse avoids runaway greenhouse. Garrett reaches the conclusion in the paper of 2007, Personal Communication, and published online by Climate Change in November 2009. Outcry from civilized scientists delayed formal publication until February 2011. The paper remains largely ignored by the scientific community, having been cited fewer than 10 times since its publication. Writing for the Arctic Methane Emergency Group, John Davies concludes the world is probably at the start of a runaway greenhouse event which will end most human life on Earth before 2040. And Australian biologist Mark Ferner said in 2010, we are going to become extinct, the eminent scientist says. Whatever we do now is too late. Anthropologist Louise Leakey, pending our near-term demise in her 5th of July 2013 assessment at Huffington Post. And her father, Richard, joins the fray in a video from 2013. Canadian wildlife biologist Neil Daw, joins the party of near-term extinction with an interview on the 29th of August 2013. And musician-turned-activist Bob Geldof joins the club in the Daily Star article from the 6th of October 2013. In the face of near-term human extinction, most Americans view the threat as distant and irrelevant, as illustrated by April 2013 article in the Washington Post, based on the poll results that echo the long-held sentiment that elected officials should be focused on the industrial economy, not faraway minor nuisances such as climate change. I know how you feel when you first hear this news. It is too daunting to be believed. We've been fed so many false stories about an out-of-control government intent on robbing the whole world, its own citizens as well. The concept of global warming has been reviled and discredited by opportunistic political gambits, such as the carbon tax debate in which countries jockey for continuing rights to pollute. The gloomy shadow of widespread doom cast by the apparent inevitability of NTE is widely regarded as the cause of Internet reporter Mike Rupert's unexpected suicide in recent days. Mike Rupert I knew, and I did a tribute to him. He was there when I started the Free American. He was there in Albuquerque at the Wake Up America meetings. McPherson, in his many videos and his recent book Going Dark, insists that the most logical way to react to this devastating but not entirely unexpected forecast is to live the way we should have lived all along, with concern for others as well as ourselves, knowing full well our lives do not last forever. With the possible exception of Buddhism, contemporary human belief systems have left the population unprepared for what is about to occur. There's no being reborn in a world that will not support life, meaning a dead world devoid of life makes ludicrous the concept of an afterlife. What we are faced with now is what we have been faced with, but have always been afraid to confront. The delusional gambits of trying to download our consciousness into robot bodies or surviving in underground cities capable of growing food and artificial light are the ultimate and unnatural death-denying compulsions that typify the erroneous philosophies that have guided human society into its suicidal and essentially thoughtless course. The recognition that the gifts of nature with which we've been endowed and must be nurtured and protected have been ignored too long, and to the point where the effect on ignorance has become irreversible, leading to a forecast where the planet will become uninhabitable in a mere 3 or 4 decades. What we decide to do in the interim before the deadly conditions take their toll on living things will likely be a reflection of the same bad habits that got us into this trouble in the first place, like spraying the chemtrails to keep it from getting too hot here, at the same time poisoning you. In your introspection now, and in the time each of you has remaining, what seems to be the most beneficial to do would be to help those in distress for as long as possible and reflect on the harm our own philosophical system have done to everyone and everything. Humans have committed the greatest crime possible to the most beautiful place possible, and in the time remaining to us, it behooves everyone to act in the most apologetic way possible, to recognize the insuperably colossal crime we have all played in part in committing and destroying the posterity of our children and profaning the efforts of those wonderful parents who only wanted to live decent lives and raise healthy children. To the ignominious landfill of a lifeless cinder where our nation's leaders and our philosophy have taken us, perhaps we should get rid of them all while we can still prove that upon realizing what we've done, we still have some shred of common sense. We are standing on the rim of a volcano, and the volcano is about to erupt. And actually, that is pretty much the truth, because that is what we are on the edge of the volcano. It's called Yosemite, a giant caldera that's heating up, more earthquakes, more things happening, landslides in Montana, landslides, volcanoes erupting around the world. Alright, what's going on in this chat room? Alright, what's going on here? Let's hear from some sheriffs. We got a few minutes left, 15 minutes left. Let me bring up some sheriffs here. Standing tall for the Constitution. This was alright, what do we do here? Did I get it this time? Patience with me. I'll bring this up in just a moment. Looking for it now, finding it. Alright, here we go. Alright, this is Sheriff Standing Tall for the Constitution. This is the Bundy Ranch response at the Siskiyou.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Oh yeah.
I'm grateful to be allowed to introduce this august panel of dedicated public servants. They have sacrificed their personal time, resources, and risked media criticism to attend this gathering, allowing us to honor their efforts to ensure your individual rights, liberties, and responsibilities as defined under the Constitution of the United States. Many of them have encountered the current onslaught against that constitutional way of life and have taken an extraordinary personal stand by placing themselves between that onslaught and the citizens who elected them. They have identified many of the tactics used and they have identified potential solutions, but they need our awareness and support. Unfortunately, it is also my assignment to try and keep 7 armed lawmen and an attorney having the power to incarcerate me to approximately 5 minutes each. Anyone who would like to speak, please feel free to introduce yourself after I introduce our own Sheriff John Lope. First of all, thank you very much for being here, and I'm honored to be the first sheriff to speak, because we got an outstanding panel of sheriffs, some of the best sheriffs in California as far as I'm concerned. And one of the things that really, thank you. And one of the things that really encourages us, the people of Siskiyou County, is the fact that not only do I have backup from all these great sheriffs and an attorney, which is sometimes rare, but we also have backup from all you great citizens. Thank you very much for being here and supporting us. You are an inspiration to us, and you're our heroes. Now I'm going to just spend a couple minutes telling you why you might think, well, why are sheriffs involved in this coordination and this government controversy? Well, because all sheriffs are sworn to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. And the California Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And quite frankly, I spent time in Afghanistan, Iraq, and I tell my lovely wife Maxine sometimes it seems like I get more friendly fire than enemy fire. And everybody's not real happy with what we're doing, but essentially what we're doing is we're standing up for the people. And I know these great sheriffs up here will tell you the same thing, but I don't know how many countless meetings I've been to with our federal and state officials, and I must say some federal and state officials are cooperative and do coordinate with us, but some of them do not. And I don't know how many times I've heard, well, why are you doing this? Why are you picking on the people? And usually I hear it's the fish. And usually I say, hey, you know what, we love fish. If we didn't live in Siskiyou County, I mean, that's why we live here, because we love the great outdoors. And yes, we want to preserve the fish. We want to preserve wildlife. We want to preserve the environment. Of course we do. Because Siskiyou County, to me, is the most beautiful place in the world, and some of our sheriffs up here live in great counties as well. But one of the retorts I have to them is, well, hey, you know, I try to remember continuously, we serve the people. You don't work for us, we work for you. And I just like a little bit of balance between the need to protect the environment, things like fish, because most of the people in my county are telling me, hey, you know what, some of you federal and state agencies care more about fish, frogs, trees, and birds than you do about the human race. What's that all about? And one more thing. We're broke. Why are you doing stupid stuff to make us poorer? Why don't you let the people work? Why don't you let the people thrive? Why don't you let our economy grow and not go backwards? When my you know, we have the dams, we have transportation management issues, we have forest management issues, and just one thing with public safety, almost every single decision made by federal and state governments impacts public safety and the health and welfare of our people. That's why the sheriffs are involved. And they also are there to uphold the law. And a lot of these federal agencies are not properly coordinating or cooperating with us, which is required by law. So these great sheriffs up here, and I've been involved in that the last 10 months, is to force these federal and state agencies to start serving the people and coordinate and start balancing your decisions with the needs of the people. I could go on, but those are just a few of the reasons the sheriffs are intimately involved in this fight, because if we don't stand up, we are right now in a fight for our survival. We are fighting not only for ourselves, more importantly, we're fighting for the survival of our counties, of our local communities, and our children and our grandchildren. And if we don't save things like agriculture, and we let them take our water and land and push us off, we won't have any public safety, we'll have no quality of life, we'll have nothing. And I think I've said enough. I guess I'm going to hand this over to Dean Wilson. And I would like to say these are very distinguished sheriffs. I have Dean Wilson from Del Norte County, and he's a good guy. And he's from the coast, too. My friend Bruce Haney from Trinity County. Tom Basenko from Shasta County. The famous Greg Hagwood from Plumas County. And Karen is our backup attorney, and she's one of the few attorneys, her and Kirk Andrus and some of our prosecutors. I mean, she is helping us out up here, backing us up, and she's a great citizen. She's helping us out. We really appreciate having her. Sheriff Palmer from Grant County in Oregon. And Gil Gilbertson from Josephine County would have been here. And Mike Poindexter from Modoc County in California would have been here too, but he's in Hawaii. And I said, you know, maybe you better go in Hawaii with your wife. I mean, she deserves it. And who else do we have down there? We have Dave Hincraft from Chihama County. Another road warrior. And Dean Groudon from Lassen County, and they're just the greatest sheriffs in the county. Give them a round of applause. Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, we thought we'd just spend a couple minutes. Each sheriff will tell you some of the issues that are going on in their counties. We're all in a struggle, all of them. And by the way, I also wanted to, we have all our Board of Supervisors here, and all these great public officials that are here who are supporting the cause. Thank you for being here. I know that I've seen all the Siskiyou County Board of Supervisor members and representatives from the state and the senator and the Senate Assembly and Wally Herger's office. Thank you for being here. And just one more time, thank you for all of you for being here, especially those who traveled from outside the area. Thanks for supporting us. God bless you.
All right, I'm cutting that off. I wanted you to hear that. There are sheriffs that are on our side, unlike the one in Clark County in Nevada. But there are sheriffs that are on our side. And I'm going to continue, even though I'm being attacked by OAS, for my views on Israel and the Jewish control behind our media and our money. I don't believe telling you the truth is being anti-Semitic. And so I'm going to continue to do this. I'm going to continue to do the shows. Had a great show today. You can hear it on Blog Talk Radio. You won't be able to hear it on YouTube. But go to freeamerican.com. Read what Riley wrote. The only problem I've got with Riley is he's misdirected or controlled, and he's supporting a foreign country rather than the one he took an oath to defend, the United States. I agree with him that Obama should go out, but he should not be driven out because of his support for the Palestinians. For the Muslims, maybe, but he shouldn't be taken out because he doesn't support Israel. And I don't like being called anti-Semitic and not being able to respond about it because Colonel Riley was too much of a coward to even come on my show. God bless America. God bless you. Thanks for watching. We're out of time.